This is the news on NTA International. I am Lami Ali. Our leading stories. World Health Organization wants to be part of probe into the origin of coronavirus in China. Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 challenges Nigerian scientists and researchers in possible treatment and cure for coronavirus. Organized labor in Nigeria marks International Workers' Day. Many thanks for joining us. The leadership of the organized labor has joined workers across the globe to mark Workers' Day celebration in low-key, without the usual funfair and large gatherings of crowd that usually characterizes the previous celebrations as a result of COVID-19 lockdown. The occasion, which took place at the Labour House in Abuja, afforded workers' representatives to remind governments at all levels to begin to engage on mitigating the impact of COVID-19 on socio-economic situation in the country. Emmanuel Anyimiru has the story.
The usual solidarity song that often rings the air was hardly heard, not because of anything, but in tune with the matters of the moment, which warranted social distancing and few crowds as a result of coronavirus. Drawing from the ILO's estimates, the organized labor says out of 3.3 billion global workforce, more than 2.6 billion workers have been affected by the pandemic, with about $3.5 trillion loss of income. Commending the proposed $3.5 billion stimulus package by the Central Bank of Nigeria to assist enterprises, Labour wants transparency in the disbursement of the fund.
These trying times teach us we must now genuinely diversify our economy and create more decent jobs. The current plunge in crude oil price may be our last warning. There are many untapped opportunities in our agri value chain.
With the slight relaxation of the lockdown from May 4, there is hope that the productive business activities will gradually pick up and we may still save jobs where elastics have not snapped.
For the fight to be won, all hands must be on deck. But I would want to plead that support should be given. And again, for us to get through, discrimination between health workers should be eliminated.
Since the focus of the 2020 Workers' Day is on the socio-economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the working class, the need for everyone to act responsibly, especially transporters disobeying the interstate lockdown, was emphasized.
What the government is doing is to make sure that we are not infected, so they should all comply. And anybody who fails to comply, the law should take its course.
The socio-economic impact of COVID-19 has taught the world to be more proactive and better prepared for emergency. Labour therefore wants the nation's health system to be revamped, while attention is paid to the educational sector for research and innovation in meeting emerging challenges. In Abuja, Emmanuel Anyimiru, NTA News.
Now, it is incredible that coronavirus could keep workers away from 2020 Workers' Day celebration worldwide, usually observed every 1st of May, a day to assess how governments and employers have responded to workers' needs vis-a-vis economic prosperity within the year. Large gatherings like it used to be over the years is certainly not possible this 2020 May Day celebration due to the coronavirus pandemic, which has shut down every human endeavor. Let's join Labour correspondent Emmanuel Anyimiru again to tell us how the International Labour Organization is canvassing the adoption of relevant conventions and standards for post-COVID-19 economic recovery.
We commend the National Assembly and President Buhari for ascending to our demand for an increased national minimum wage.
On all governments at all levels, and also the private sector, to ensure that contributory pensions deductions both from the staff and from employers are remitted to pension administrators as at when due.
These were the highlights of the 2019 Workers' Day, the year that witnessed the implementation of national minimum wage in August with officers on level 4 and below, while others began in December 2019. Every category of worker were paid arrears of 8 months as well. Even though the 2020 Workers' Day is devoid of any gathering due to coronavirus pandemic, the International Labour Organization, ILO, is already looking beyond, suggesting how governments and international institutions can mitigate the effects.
We need to continue to try to stimulate the global economy, and that works best when there is better international cooperation. We need to promote policies that both protect and sustain enterprises, support income, and lead to job retention.
The third edition of ILO's monitoring of COVID-19 and the World of Work says the drop in working hours in the current second quarter of 2020 is significantly worse than previously estimated. This is especially on the informal economy, with about 2 billion workers worldwide, which is more than half global workforce, puts the workers at immediate danger of having their livelihoods destroyed.
Axiomatically, we all know that the informal economy, where about 6 out of 10 of all working people in the world make their living, is synonymous with unprotected work, precarity at work. And so it is important that we see what is going on in this most vulnerable part of the global labour market.
As the pandemic and jobs crisis evolve, the need to protect the most vulnerable becomes even more urgent, says the ILO Director General Guy Ryder. For millions of workers, no income means no food, no security, and no future. So the 2020 Workers' Day provides another opportunity to press for stronger economic policies together with stimulus packages, critical to making recovery effective and sustainable. Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari is felicitating with Nigerian workers as they mark this year's May Day. President Buhari, in a message delivered to the Nigerian workers through the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngigi, acknowledged the contribution of Nigerian workers in nation building and their sacrifices in helping the society to fight coronavirus pandemic. President Buhari, while allaying the fears of Nigerian workers on retrenchment, says government will ensure that no employer would retrench or lay off workers without going through due process of social dialogue, which includes consultations with workers and with the competent authority. He also expressed appreciation to medical doctors and healthcare workers, as well as their respective organizations, the Nigerian Medical Association and Joint Health Sector Unions. President Buhari says he has directed that requisite incentives and hazard allowances enhancements and insurance for lives should be taken at these perilous times in favor of health sector workers as a way of showing our appreciation to them. More now on the May Day observance with messages for workers.
Nigerian workers have continued to receive goodwill messages, including that of President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, who congratulated workers for sustaining their heroic struggle for the liberation of the country from poverty and underdevelopment, even in the face of daunting challenges. He acknowledged the role of workers in creating wealth, urging them to adhere strictly to prescribed public health protocols of social distancing, wearing face masks and the use of hand sanitizers to stay safe. The Speaker, House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, commended Nigerian workers for their commitment and dedication to work over the years, which has shaped the nation. He called on workers to always be more productive and sustain the tempo. The All Progressives Congress has acknowledged the tireless effort, resilience, patience and commitment of Nigerian workers in the onerous task of nation building. And the People's Democratic Party has also hailed the resilience of workers in healthcare and other essential services who have continued to exhibit unequaled patriotism despite the daunting challenges.
Still on Workers' Day, the federal government has issued a comprehensive guideline on the gradual ease of the total lockdown, which will commence on Monday, 4th May 2020. This is following the presidential broadcast of Monday, 27th April 2020, in which President Muhammadu Buhari announced the gradual ease of lifting of the lockdown in Lagos, Ogun, and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. India has that report.
A statement signed by Secretary to Government of the Federation and Chairman Presidential Committee on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, provides general information on new COVID-19 measures and protocols for containment of the disease. The federal government acknowledged the improvements in the multi-sectoral response to the coronavirus pandemic and wants all the existing guidelines on proper hygiene to be maintained, such as the regular washing of hands, use of face masks and hand sanitizer, social and physical distancing, and avoidance of public or social gatherings. The ease of the lockdown is also characterized by enforceable actions such as compulsory use of non-medical face masks covering for all persons while in public spaces. Latex and gloves should not be worn except for specific medical purposes. Mandatory provision of hand-washing facilities and sanitizers in all public places. All interstate travels are also prohibited except for essential travels and services. Except for essential travels and services such as transportation of agricultural products, petroleum products, relief items, goods and commodities related to the COVID-19 response and persons on essential duty. Mass gathering of more than 20 persons outside a workplace is also prohibited. Mandatory temperature checks to be conducted in public spaces. Social distancing of 2 meters must be maintained between two people in workplaces and other public. There is also retention of the ban on all passenger flights. Religious gatherings are still restricted and mandatory supervised isolation of persons arriving from outside the country for at least 14 days. Protocols for the containment of COVID-19 also include the imposition of overnight nationwide curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. starting from May 4th to 17, 2020. Movement of persons between local government areas is strongly discouraged except for critical healthcare, work and shopping for necessary food items. The protocol allows banks and other financial institutions to operate between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. daily with numbers of staff physically working not more than 30 to 50% in such offices, with all the COVID-19 guidelines earlier stated strictly observed. Transport companies and motor parks are to open and operate between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. daily with strict...
You're watching the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. We're taking a short break now. More reports after this time out.
This is to say a big thank you to all the healthcare workers who put their lives on the line, working in all the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, especially Lagos, Kano, Ogun, and Abuja, to ensure that we beat COVID-19 in the least possible time. Thank you so much. You are our superheroes. This message is from the Governor's Wife's Forum, the wife of the Vice President and the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you for joining us again. The Presidential Task Force felicitates with Nigerian workers as they celebrate this year's Workers' Day. Chairman of the task force, Boss Mustafa, challenged Nigerian Labour Congress to identify innovative ways of ensuring that the nation's workforce remains a key driver to economic growth.
This year's Labour theme, maintaining safety and security in the workplace, further emphasizes the importance of ensuring that all Nigerian workers are adequately protected to increase their productivity. Similarly, it places on the workers the obligation to take responsibility by adhering to the implementation guidelines that have been developed and circulated, especially in this COVID-19 era.
The Minister of Health says the Presidential Task Force is committed to ensuring provision of personal protective equipment for healthcare workers, security personnel and other essential workers. He says 18 laboratories have been activated nationwide to increase testing for coronavirus.
So that NCDC testing strategy can be realized. We get complaints, unfortunately, about patients who suffer from other ailments not being attended to, even in private hospitals or public hospitals in this era of COVID-19, which raises concern for immunization, reproductive, maternal, neonatal and child health, and routine service coverage. A senior official from the Department of Family Health, from the Ministry of Health, is therefore also on this team to go to Kano to help drive the continuation of essential health care, even at private and public hospitals.
The PTF is to meet with security agencies this weekend to fashion out modalities for enforcement of the next phase. In another development, the World Health Organization wants to be part of probe into the origin of coronavirus in China. As Press Emblem Campaign Group says, dozens of journalists die from COVID-19 worldwide. Here is the report.
The total number of confirmed cases from coronavirus disease in Nigeria is 1,932. This is from the latest figure released by Nigeria Center for Disease Control. Cumulatively, Lagos State remains at the top of the charts with 976 cases, followed by Kano with 219. FCT 178, Gombe 76. Those below the ladder are Anambra, Benue and Yobe states, all with a case each. So far, only Cross River and Kogi states are the two states yet to record any case. South Africa has gradually begun to loosen its strict lockdown measures, allowing some industries to reopen after 5 weeks of restrictions that plunged its struggling economy deeper into turmoil. Some outside activities such as cycling, walking and running will be allowed, but just for 3 hours in the morning. But bans on the sale of cigarettes and alcohol will remain in effect. The World Health Organization said it was hoping China would invite it to take part in its investigations into the animal origins of the novel coronavirus. The UN agency is keen to work with international partners to participate, as WHO understood there are a number of investigations underway in China to better understand the source of the outbreak, but the organization is not currently involved in the studies in China. Meanwhile, the Press Emblem Campaign, a press freedom organization, says 55 million workers across 23 countries have died from the coronavirus disease. This is ahead of World Press Freedom Day on Sunday. The organization warned that many journalists are putting themselves in harm's way to report the global crisis, with many of them falling ill from COVID-19 themselves in the process. Worldwide, the number of confirmed infections at about 6:40 p.m. Nigerian time is 3,330,805, with 234,769 deaths and 1,053,250 persons have recovered.
Now, First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, has called on Nigerian women to use this period of lockdown as an opportunity to continue to render all the necessary support and care to their husbands and children, as well as to intensify prayers for God to bring to an end the coronavirus pandemic. The First Lady stated this in a message during the presentation of palliatives and other food items to women groups at the grassroots. State House correspondent Aliu Kabir reports.
Given consideration to women, especially those at the grassroots who are the most vulnerable groups during this period of lockdown, the First Lady said the intervention is necessary as such food items such as bags of rice, grains, sugar, milk and other essential commodities were donated to them. While presenting the items to the representatives of women associations at the grassroots, the First Lady in a message enjoined them to use the items judiciously in order to cushion the effect of this lockdown.
Whatever she's able to mobilize as part of her fight towards against the COVID-19 is actually meant to touch those people that they will best utilize it. So this thing we have done now to women leaders and other associates that gathered today to collect their own share of the food item which has been donated to her and she's distributing to them is actually something that everyone here is very grateful to her.
We have been trying our best to go out, to campaign, to tell people to stay at home, to pray, and the little we have we also contribute because we too in our own capacity we have been contributing around the 36th state of Nigeria because there are other donors, little giving us, but we have never gotten as much as this. This is the first time we are getting much item to give it to women. And we promise you, we the leaders are not going to touch it. We are going to give it to those that we are supposed to get it.
This is what she does to the less privileged and to others in the society. But for also remembering us, we are very grateful because we have a lot of people behind us. So we'll go and share these gifts to them. We want to say God bless her and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
More groups are expected to benefit from similar gesture. In Abuja, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the deployment of grains by the federal government to Kano State to ease the 2 weeks lockdown as a result of rising cases of COVID-19 has been applauded by the entire people of Kano State. Executive Secretary, Kano State Emergency Management Agency, Salih Aliu, said this when he took delivery of grains for onward distribution to the people. Ilyasu Aliyakubu has that report.
10-trailer loads of grains as promised by the Director General, National Emergency Management Agency, Engineer Mustafa Mehaja, to be delivered in Kano State this week, have started arriving the states from Wednesday the 29th of May 2020. The breakdown of the delivery shows that more than 800 metric tons of millet is expected to be delivered from Lafia Silo in Nasarawa State. Another 800 metric tons of maize and sorghum are also expected from Mina in Niger State, Dusama in Katsina State, and Gusau in Zamfara State.
In fact, the entire state feel very much happy for receiving this very, very important item, more especially at this crucial time during the Ramadan period, and at the same time when we are having a lockdown when people doesn't even go out to source for what to eat.
Receiving it together, I want them physically to see what we have actually received from the federal government and their store. They gave us store to store these items before starting distribution.
It is expected that more than 1 million vulnerable people of Kano State will benefit from this gesture. From Kano, Ilyasu Aliyakubu, NTA News.
In another news, efforts are still on to combat the fire raging under the bridge at Obalende in front of the NNPC filling station in Lagos. Lane Leneke reports that the outbreak occurred when a tanker loaded with 45,000 litres of petrol fell on its side while maneuvering the roundabout. Emergency responders are on top of their game to ensure the fire doesn't spread, while appealing to members of the public to stay calm. Now, the Imo State government has condoled with families of those who lost their lives in the building which collapsed in Owerri. Bright Ebocho reports that the Imo State Deputy Governor, Professor Placid Njoku, who visited the scene of the incident, assured that steps will be taken to unravel the cause of the collapse of the building, which was under construction.
It is still uncertain
how many workers were inside the 8-story building when it caved in, but so far, about 14 persons have been rescued while the number of deaths has increased to 2. Imo State Deputy Governor Placid Njoko, who visited the location on behalf of the state government, expressed dismay over the ugly incident and assured that the cause of the collapse will be investigated and culprits brought to book.
I think it's necessary to condole all those who are here, who are directly affected, and by the grace of God, we shall retrieve all the others who are still in there in a state that we can hospitalize them.
Some eyewitnesses commended the rescue team for their quick response, but believe that efforts should be intensified to rescue others who could possibly still be under the building.
There were 2 people shouting there. Our brothers were trying to bring them out there yesterday. So luckily they tried and rescue one of them, but the leg was cut off.
Government has to come into supervision of a building, starting from the foundation. Any building crossing more than 2-story building, I think we should have a government contractor that will deal with it.
The deputy governor also visited the hospital to check up on the victims who were being treated. In Owerri, Bright Ebuchu, NTA News.
And President Muhammadu Buhari expressed his heartfelt condolence to the family, academia and the friends of renowned economist Professor Uwoduni Teriba, who passed away recently at the age of 82. In the statement signed by Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, the President lauds the can-do spirits of the departed, who studied privately for his advanced level education and completed his bachelor's in economics at the University of Ibadan in 1962. President Buhari says the deceased stamped his authority on areas like economic principles, monetary, fiscal and development economics, which he taught for many decades, according to President Buhari. Teriba hoisted Nigeria's flag proudly wherever he went, and posterity will be quite kind to him. Similarly, President Buhari has commiserated with the family of a renowned Islamic scholar, Malama Halima Shitu Abdul Salam, wife of an equally famous scholar and preacher, Sheikh Abdul Wahab Abdullah Muhammad. In a statement signed by Senior Special Assistant to the President, Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, President Buhari was anguished by her demise, as she was a preacher par excellence. He prayed Almighty Allah to support the family, the government and people of Kano State as they mourn Malama Halima, the statement added. And those are the stories that made the news at this time on NTA International. We thank you for watching. I am Lami Ali.
Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
I am Elizabeth Abai. I am here to talk about facts. There is so much misinformation and distortion out there, especially on the social media. All it takes is just a click and the fake news goes viral. However, here in NTA, we deal with facts.
My job is to go out there and comb for factual news and information, just the way it is, all in the interest of the nation. I'm Naja'atu Tijani.
Here on the NTA, we present only the facts, verified. Beware of fake news, don't be a victim. Stay tuned to the NTA.
Especially at this time of the coronavirus pandemic.
My name is Nnamdi Ojipo.
In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, information management is key.
I'm Cyril Stober.
Fatima Umar Buba.
Joseph Johnson.
Ian Ray John.
Muhammad Kudu Abubakar.
Jumbo Yusuf.
My name is
of the FCT, Lagos and Ogun states since March the 30th, along with state governments following suit. The Nigerian workforce has for almost 5 weeks completely shut down, except for essential service providers. Workers' Day 2020 is one of a kind due to COVID-19, with the celebration devoid of its usual color and zest. However, the essence of the day, stakeholders say, must not be lost. Now, in the context of COVID-19, what future awaits workers globally? And back here in Nigeria, what is the key message as workers commemorate the day? This is the focus of this edition of Nigeria Today. Welcome to the program. I'm Dennis Adigunloye. And with me to speak on Workers' Day in COVID-19 is the Deputy General Secretary of the Nigeria Labour Congress, in person of Comrade Bello Ismail. Welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. Congrats to all workers on this special day that we all mark. But as we know, COVID-19 is ravaging the world. Just to start off with, just give us your feel of how things panned out today with regards to commemorating Workers' Day.
Yeah, it's a very difficult moment, a very challenging moment for the entire world, for the entire globe, and particularly for working people. When crisis of this proportion happens,